What is going on in Revelation? Part 2.
Is there a question that's bothering you? What should we do if we haven't a clue? Ask Tim!
Last week we were introduced to the book of Revelation and how it seeks to use poetic language to reveal the startling truth to the early Christians, that power lies not with the economic and military superpower of Rome, but with an apparently defeated crucified man. You can catch a glimpse of this truth through vivid, poetic picture language in Revelation chapter 5. John sees the one sitting on the throne holding a scroll in his right hand, but no one is worthy enough to come and open up the scroll to see what is inside. But then John is told there is one who is worthy enough to open the scroll, the Lion of Judah, the root of David. Now these were classic Old Testament descriptions of the Messiah, the mighty anointed king God's people had been waiting for. The warrior king who would surely lead them into battle against the forces of evil. So John turns around expecting to see this warrior king, perhaps played by Bruce Willis, or indeed a mighty roaring lion ready to tear into God's enemies, perhaps played by a lion. But instead, John sees a lamb that looks like it's been slain. This is an odd image, and like almost all the imagery in Revelation, it is taken from the Old Testament, where a perfect and innocent lamb would be slain for the sins of God's people. It is like God is promising to bring about victory, not through power, but through weakness. Not by conquering those who stand against his people, but by suffering at their hands. This is subversive stuff, and later on in Revelation this lamb will lead an army of God's people, an army made up of every nation, culture and ethnicity. And just as the lamb wins his victory against the forces of evil, not through military might, but through his willing sacrifice, so too will it be for those who choose to follow the lamb. To follow the Lion of Judah, the messianic king, the lamb who was slain, which is of course Jesus, is to stand up against all the power that the world can muster. Unjust economic systems, misused authority, unquestioning consumerism, oppression, racism, militaristic nationalism, hatred, lies, and to suffer at its hands. In John's vision, these worldly powers are called Babylon, and for the churches John was writing to, Babylon was clearly the Roman Empire. But for every generation of Christians since, Babylon has had a different face. But it is always there, taking a mocking stand against those who would follow the way of the Lamb that was slain. But taking a stand against such worldly powers costs us something. In fact, it may cost us everything. So why should the Christians of the churches in Asia Minor continue to take an uncompromising stand in the face of persecution? Well, because it is the right thing to do, but also because Revelation finishes with the amazing and beautiful promise of an eternal city. Death is not the end of the story. One day we will be with God. Justice will be fully realised. God's kingdom will come. John writes to tell the Christians to hold on, to remind them that God sits on the throne, and to offer them a different perspective of reality. A perspective which is to be for us more real and tangible than the contemporary narratives which flow from the press and the social media sites of our own age.
Is there a question that's bothering you? What should we do if we haven't a clue? Ask Tim!